This is 88.9 KETR, online at KETR.org. You're listening to Notably Texan, and I'm your host, Matt Meinke. And just a quick reminder before we get to our special presentation that your support makes everything on this station possible. It enables us to invite in the singers and songwriters of Texas to tell us about their work and provide some insights that you can't find anywhere else. So please click the donate button when you visit KETR.org. And joining me on the show today are members of a rock and roll outfit out of Commerce who are set to put out their debut album. This project was dreamed up a couple of years ago by the band's singer, who generally records as a solo artist, but he found some guys that he meshed well with musically, and now SoulShine are ready to shine bright. They're my special guests on today's Notably Texan. Well, welcome to the show, guys. Congrats on the new album. Thanks so much for stopping by Notably Texan today.
Thank you so much for having us.
We caught your performance recently at the Commerce Independence Day celebration. The band sounded really tight, and certainly looking forward to hearing more when this new full-length Illumination album comes out on August 11th. Since I've got all of y'all in, I want to kind of work around the table here a little bit. And Jeremy, we've talked many times in the past here on the show. We've spoken to you as a solo artist and as part of another band. But for anybody that's not familiar, tell me a little bit about your roots and what got you interested in music when you were growing up, because I know this has been a lifelong fascination of yours.
Yes. I saw Kiss when I was 4 years old on an old VHS, and saw Peter Criss playing the drums and wanted to play music ever since that day. Grew up around Commerce, Texas, and met a lot of people that played music as well here and grew throughout the community. And the music that we make together now is basically a chronicle of everything we've been through in life and ways to get through the things that we go through.
Very nice. I know that you've been absorbed by playing guitar and singing for most of your life. So, I mean, what is it about music that means so much to you personally? Because not everybody's into music on the same level as you are necessarily. So what is it about music that kind of speaks to you?
It's therapeutic. It's like having a therapist all the time, you know. I like it. It helps me get through things, and it helps me look back on things that I did in the past and make better decisions.
No, I definitely get that. Music has a way of getting people through both the highs and lows of life, for sure. So I can certainly understand that. Well, tell me a little bit about this latest project, SoulShine, because I know this was something that Jeremy, you started putting together several years ago. So what was your vision when you kind of started down this SoulShine road?
SoulShine was just going to be my first solo album, and I heard the songs after they were done, and really wanted to create a band from it. Even though I'd went in and did the solo album by myself and all the instruments, I wanted to look out for other people and see if anybody wanted to make a new band and start something fresh with me. And I found the people that I wanted to play with, and it's all been from there. It's grown a lot, and I'm proud of where we are now.
It wasn't necessarily that you wanted to make a different type of music per se, right? It's just that you wanted to kind of involve other people, because like you're saying, it's not quite the same when you lay down all the tracks on every instrument.
Yeah. I was playing with a lot of older people, and kind of got with a group of people my own age, and it changed the dynamic a lot.
Well, we're talking with members of the Commerce rock outfit SoulShine here on 88.9 KETR. This is Notably Texan, and I would love to learn a little bit more about the other members of the trio. So where are you from, Mark Hotchkiss, and what's your history in performing music?
So I've grown up near Plano almost all my life. Commerce is actually a relatively new thing for me. I don't live around here. I still live in Plano, but I come travel here pretty often to hang out with Jeremy and Dalton. Music for me, it really started when I was young, because my grandma actually went to college for music back in the 70s.
Really?
And so when I was growing up in the 90s, as a toddler and stuff like that, it was always like banging on pots and pans or buying maracas or just things that make noise. We would shove knives between the forks and run the knives back and forward just to make that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
So that's where music really started for me. And then I grew up after that with, MTV on the television every morning before I went to school. And so I've always wanted to play rock, especially like 2000s rock. That's what really got me into all the music. So that's kind of where I started. And, through high school and stuff like that, I was able to play in, ensembles of anywhere from 4 to 50 people. And that's what really taught me to listen to other people when making music. And that's when I was like, I want to make music, right? I want to actually progress more than what I know.
Okay, so you were playing like in the high school band or something like
Right,
that.
right.
Yeah, a lot of people, kind of get their start that way. So, I mean, it's a good foundation to have. It's totally different than what you do now in a way. But,
Yes.
I mean, that's where you actually learn some of the legit stuff about music. So that's cool. And for anybody that's not familiar, what do you play in the band?
I play the bass.
Okay, very cool, man. I mean, is that an instrument that you've always had an interest in, or is it more?
So I always like to feel the music, right? Like hearing the music and stuff like that has been important, but feeling the music's always been a way better experience for me. And so when I was actually learning how to play instruments and stuff like that, I wanted to learn how to play the bass. And my parents told me that bass players actually aren't very cool and nobody likes them and stuff like that. And so they got me a guitar instead.
Oh,
and
man.
that's how I started out. But for me, really just having that undertone of deep, dark voice that still can be melodic and still enjoyable, but is still very powerful, that's what I like.
That's not fair. Everybody loves Flea, the bassist for the Chili Peppers.
Right.
I mean, I'm trying to think of some other famous bassists, but there's some great ones out there. But I get it. It's kind of one of those background instruments, but I mean, it's vitally important to the music. I mean,
Oh, yeah.
Without the rhythm section, you don't really have that much going on. So I respect that. Also with us from SoulShine is drummer Dalton Greer, and I'd love to find out a little bit more about you. Where are your roots?
Right here in Commerce. I've been here my entire life and grew up listening to music and wandering the streets.
Okay, all right. I might have seen you out there somewhere before then.
Probably with Jeremy.
Oh yeah, fair enough. I know that Jeremy's famous for walking around town playing his acoustic guitar through the years. So you can't really carry a drum set though. It's you just have to makeshift drums. I mean, It's funny that he mentioned it earlier because I was going to ask if you were a kid that was playing makeshift drums and on pots and pans when you were growing up, or if you just came to the drums later.
Yeah, it was more flower pots and buckets from the garden and whatnot.
Okay.
I did a few pots and pans.
Understood. And so how did the three of you actually end up hooking up and kind of realizing that you had similar music vision?
Me and Dalton pretty much knew from the get-go in grade school. That's really what brought us together. We loved music a lot, and we loved to talk about it. We loved to write about it, read about it, and anything, play it. And we've been hanging out off and on for many, many, many years now and become best friends. And we stumbled upon this great guy, Mark, late last year, and it's been a great ride since he started. It's felt like a whole new band, and like we've really taken the road that we need to take as a band to get to the next step.
And I know when you're into what people might call kind of disparate elements, like music that's outside the norm, you tend to gravitate, of course, towards people that are into similar stuff. And not everybody's into like hard rock, heavy metal and stuff. So, when you see each other, sometimes you just know it. Obviously, sometimes the long hair is the giveaway. But you don't even have long hair anymore, Jeremy. So
yeah, it's all over the place nowadays.
But you just know sometimes when you're meeting people with a similar vibe that you're into the same stuff. Maybe they're wearing a shirt and you're like, oh, you're into that band too.
Yeah.
So I assume that it was pretty easy to tell that you guys would be able to mesh together, right?
As soon as we played together.
Oh
you're
yeah.
like, yeah.
Well, the SoulShine debut album is coming out on August 11th, and I know that you just recently put out a single. And before we listen to Empty Walls, what can you tell me about this song? I'd love to know just kind of any insight you'd like to provide, or if you've got some cool story of something that happened in the studio when you were making it. What can you tell me about Empty Walls?
Empty Walls is about feeling like you're stuck in a room with no doors, no windows. It's hard to get out. You're trying to find an answer, trying to persevere, trying to get through whatever hardship you're facing, and come through a stronger and better person than you were before. As far as in the studio, the whole album was just fun to make. We went in there and got it done in 10 hours and had our first single playing on the radio for 89.9 KETR before we even left the studio, so that was really cool.
Wow, okay.
Never had that happen before, and it was just a general great feeling of hearing the album. First time in my life. I've been on a couple of albums with different artists and stuff, and this was the first one. I just felt like, finally, after all these years, this sounds right.
This is one of those songs that actually kind of sort of came to Jeremy one day, and he was like, guys, you have to listen to this. And so we sat there and we listened to it, and I was like, all right, well, let's just make it. Let's just have it happen. And he had all of it mapped out, basically, so once we really added the drums to it, that's when I was like, okay, now how can we make this even better? And that's when we got the choruses elevated, and we were like, yeah, we like this. This is good.
Nice. Well, this is a pretty good introduction to the band SoulShine if you're hearing them for the first time today here on 88.9 KETR. This is Empty Walls. That's SoulShine with a song from their debut album, Illumination, Empty Walls, on 88.9 KETR. This is Notably Texan. My name's Matt Meinke, and I'm joined by the members of SoulShine today, Jeremy Bellamy, Dalton Greer, and Mark Hodgkiss. So the sound and overall quality on these songs, really quite good. You talked about recording the album earlier. Where did you guys record the record?
Session Works over in Hurst, Texas with James Mount.
And was this the first time you've worked over there?
It was, and he was referred to us by a friend of ours, Braden Stewart, and he really took what we played. He's worked with all kinds of artists, high calibers, low caliber, everything, and he really just embraced what we were and took what we had and didn't change it too much, just put us on the right levels and made us hear ourselves for the first time.
Okay. I mean, did he act as like a producer? Or
Yes.
Did you guys... Okay, cool. Because, I mean, that's useful. I know that you've got experience kind of doing stuff all on your own as self-produced artist, but it's different when you have sort of a musical director of sorts like that.
It's a lot better.
I mean, how did that help kind of shape this and make it a different experience?
It felt freeing in there, where we were supposed to be. It all sounded right, and when we heard the first mix, when we went into the room, it was really nice and very refreshing.
Yeah, we ended up starting with just 4 songs, I believe, before we took a break. And those 4 songs that we had, we knew we were tight. We knew what we were playing. Everything sounded really good. And then once we sat down and listened to him, he'd already sort of adjusted some volumes here or there. And he was like, just listen to this. Stop and listen for a minute. Everything just sounded phenomenal. Like, there was not any major editing that needed to take place. Like, we just sounded good. And he just made sure the equipment was there to match what we wanted to portray.
Yep.
And then, of course, he did everything after that, too. But just for that moment, it was like, okay, we need to keep going.
Sometimes it helps to have another set of ears on stuff because, after you've, written and practiced and refined a song so much, you can't necessarily hear it the same as somebody who it's new to, So hopefully that made it a cooler experience for you overall. It sounds like it did.
Yeah, it was great.
If I'm not mistaken, you guys got to play a gig leading up to a Dallas Stars game earlier this year. Didn't you? Tell me about that.
Yes, we got to open a Dallas Stars game at American Airlines Center. That was a big day. It was great. It was very cold and very windy.
Yeah.
But we made it through, and we stuck around and played our set, and everybody out there really enjoyed our music, and that was a great feeling, being in front of American Airlines Center.
Yeah, on a great Stars season too.
Yeah.
There was a lot of interest in the Stars, particularly this season that wrapped up. That's cool. That was a great experience, and obviously exposure that you wouldn't necessarily get playing in a club somewhere, right?
Yeah.
I mean, because this is
A
totally
lot of
different
people.
crowd. Yeah. Well, that's awesome. You definitely always have to be on the lookout for opportunities like that. And you guys are playing some shows soon. I noticed that you've got all kinds of gigs lined up through the year, and I may be putting you on the spot if you don't have the stuff memorized, but do you want to mention some of your upcoming gigs?
Our album release party for Illumination is going to be at Native Garden Beer Station in Roy City. And then on August 26th, we'll be playing Sweetwater Grill over in Union Valley.
Okay, nice. And I'm sure that other shows are going to pop up, and people can certainly follow you guys online to keep up with the gigs, right?
Absolutely.
Where can they find you?
We are primarily on Facebook, but we're on everything. But we update the most on Facebook. You can find us under SoulShine Band Official.
Okay, I was going to say, we want to make sure that people are finding the right SoulShine, because it turns out that this is kind of a popular name for a lot of things when you just Google it or whatever. So SoulShine Official is going to be the one that generally gets them to you.
Yes.
And I know that you guys are independent grassroots band, so if somebody's interested, where can they actually get your album? I assume they can get it in person, but can they purchase it online anywhere?
Yes, they can message us online, and we can mail it to them if they're far away, which we have a lot of fans that are in different states and stuff like that. We're going to be sending it all over the United States at least. You can get them through us in person. You come to shows. Any of those will work.
So you have physical copies then? Huh?
Yes.
Okay, because that's not a guarantee, as we were talking about before we opened the mics today. Not everybody's even making CDs anymore, but you guys have actually got some CDs.
Yeah, we're going to have a little CD signing party.
Okay, nice.
Before we release them all.
So I know you guys are on Spotify. I think they can keep up with all your latest singles and everything over there, can't they?
Yes.
Spotify, Apple Music, YouTube,
Everything you listen to music on.
Amazon Music.
Well, of course, we do try to play all of the music of Texas here on this program. And as I play you guys out with another taste from the new Illumination record, just kind of a fair warning, if you will, to listeners that this is slightly more metal than what you traditionally hear on Notably Texan. But we are all about giving all sorts of different bands a voice and a place to be heard. So I just want to mention that because it's a far cry from a lot of the stuff that you hear on the show. But I want to play this tune, Break, by SoulShine, and I want to thank you guys very much for coming by. It's been great to get to know more about Jeremy Bellamy, Dalton Greer, and Mark Hodgkiss. Thanks for visiting with me today.
Of course, it's been fantastic.
Thank you for having us.
The three-piece commerce rock outfit SoulShine, a cut from their debut album Illumination. That's Break. And you discovered them here on 88.9 KETR. Big thanks to the members of SoulShine for stopping by today. Jeremy Bellaby, Mark Hodgkiss, and Dalton Greer. Their Illumination album is out August 11th. You can find more about this program online at ketr.org/NOTEX.